Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Gaza ceasefire talks gain momentum. Israel, US and Hamas guardedly optimistic. Russia vows revenge after Ukraine kills chemical weapons chief Igor Kirillov in Moscow. Canada's leadership crisis deepens. Opposition members in Parliament call for Prime Minister Trudeau to step down. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and his Chinese counterpart to hold special representatives meeting on border issues in Beijing. France imposes nighttime curfew on cyclone hit Mayotte. President Macron to visit affected areas on Thursday. An agreement to halt the 14-month-old war in Gaza and free hostages held in Palestinian enclave could be signed in the coming days, with talks in Cairo making progress. Negotiators have sought three-phase Gaza ceasefire plan. The US administration, joined by mediators from Egypt and Qatar, has made intensive efforts in the recent days to advance the talks before President Joe Biden leaves office next month. Meanwhile, the United States expressed cautious optimism on the prospects of reaching a ceasefire in Gaza, although it acknowledged that similar hopes were dashed before.
I don't have an assessment. It's not something that we were involved in. Obviously, he was a general who was involved in a number of atrocities. He was involved in the use of chemical weapons against Ukrainian military.
Israel airstrikes in two parts of northern Gaza Strip happened on Tuesday, with Israel's military claiming it had taken out a Hamas weapons storage facility. Further north, in the town of Beit Lahia, which has been under Israeli siege since early October, at least 15 people were believed to be dead or missing under the rubble of a house hit by an airstrike around dawn. Former Israeli hostages who were released in a ceasefire deal a year ago held a presser in Tel Aviv, pleading for a comprehensive deal while their loved ones who are still held captive in Gaza. Speaking from their experience of spending about 50 days in captivity, the former hostages said that they feared for their relatives who are still trapped in Gaza.
100 hostages, men, women, children, are still being held in the depths of hell. My partner, my friends, and countless innocent lives are wasting away while the world stands silent. This is your chance, the chance to change history. Step in, end this war, bring the hostage home. No words, no promise, only action. Bring them back, all of them, now.
All right, DD India's Amit Mukherjee joins us for more on this. Amit, good morning. Now, we've told our viewers about how there is hope and optimism when we talk of the ceasefire talks, but we also know that this is not for the first time that such hopes, have emerged, and this is not for the first time that ceasefire talks, mediation is going on. Help us understand, how do we expect the days ahead to pan out?
That's right, Preeti. That's right. Actually, I mean, despite the fact there is still unrest in certain pockets of Gaza, where some engagements are still on, parties who have been involved in the talks in Qatar, which is going on in Qatar right now, they have expressed optimism. In fact, Hamas has said that a ceasefire is definitely possible, and things, the way they are moving out, they are quite optimistic, and very progressive talks which are happening. It is possible. However, even Israel has said that probably a ceasefire date is much closer than ever before. But having said that, they have all the negotiators, that includes US, Israel, Qatar, and Egypt officials. They have also cautioned that the ceasefire deal is neither been sealed nor it is guaranteed at this point in time. And Hamas has also expect that a deal is possible provided Israel doesn't pose any new restrictions and conditions to take the talks further. Now, if you look at what had happened in August, during which the talks had failed, very similar issues are being discussed right now. Disagreement on which had actually led to the failure of the talks. And one of the key reasons, issues out there is withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. This was also one of the conditions which was being talked about during the ceasefire talks which were on in August, where it was said that Israel should completely pull out from that place, from Gaza, and also a complete ceasefire on all operations. But again, this time Israel is again putting in a condition that they will not entirely withdraw from Gaza. And although Hamas is saying that is the essential prerequisite for all the release of hostages from both sides. In fact, Hamas will be releasing the hostages which are still captive, who had been taken on the 7th of October last year, and also exchange of Palestinian prisoners who are under, in various jails in Israel right now. So those things can only happen, once Israel withdraws and the ceasefire is kind of reached. But, those talks are still going on, and we are seeing that there are incidents of, again, in Gaza right now, which we saw earlier this morning also. So things are at a very critical stage, and only when all the parties agree to it will a final ceasefire agreement will be reached. Now, in fact, US is also making a lot of effort. CIA's chief, Bill Burns, is also expected to travel later today. In fact, he's supposed to arrive in Doha to take the talks further in Doha. And also, National Security Advisor of Israel, National Security Advisor of US was there. So Mr. Sullivan was there, trying to negotiate the deal further. Preeti?
All right, Amit, you're talking of this optimism and you're talking of this hope. Get us more as to how are, Israel and Hamas positioned at this time, because we see the airstrikes still continuing, which is indeed grave. At the same time, US has been talking of how, through mediation, there could be, they could achieve at a ceasefire. So put all this together, how do we expect the situation to build on from here?
Well, Preeti, the main, issue of contention right now is the captivity of all the Israeli hostages, who are still, placed in various pockets, undisclosed pockets of Gaza right now, and they are under the captivity of Hamas. Now, that is one of the key issues which Israel is harping on. Earlier, they were saying that there cannot be any negotiation unless and until those hostages are released. There will be no ceasefire. Now, Hamas has also kind of turned down talks earlier, saying that unless and until there is a ceasefire, there will be no exchange of hostages. Now, that again is an issue which still is being deliberated upon, and unless and until, a situation is reached which is acceptable to both the parties, whether it's Hamas or Israel, things are still, far from reality or ceasefire deal. In fact, Israel authorities, on one hand, they are expressing optimism as far as the talks are concerned, but at the same time, they're saying it's far from, it's still a few weeks away before any actual settlement is reached. And of course, we have to, all eyes will now be on CIA chief Bill Burns, who will be reaching Qatar later today to take the talks further. Preeti?
All right, Amit, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. And the head of a US-based Syrian advocacy organization on Monday said that a mass grave outside of Damascus contained the bodies of at least 100,000 people killed by the former government. An international war crimes prosecutor said on Tuesday that evidence emerging from mass grave sites in Syria has exposed a state-run machinery of death under toppled leader Bashar al-Assad. The prosecutor estimated that more than 100,000 people were tortured and murdered since 2013. Hundreds of thousands of Syrians are estimated to have been killed since 2011, when Assad's crackdown on protests against his rule grew into a full-scale civil war. Assad and his father Hafez, who preceded him as president and died in 2000, are accused by Syrian Syrians and right groups and other governments of widespread extrajudicial killings, including mass executions within the country's prison system. Assad repeatedly denied that his government committed human rights violations and painted his detractors as extremists. The United States is engaged with several UN bodies to ensure that the Syrian people get answers to mass graves, detention sites and torture sites in Syria. At a regular news briefing on Tuesday, State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller called for answers for the families of those who disappeared and were tortured and killed in Syria. Miller also sought accountability for those behind these actions. He said that the administration of President Joe Biden was engaged with the Independent Institution on Missing Persons in Syria, among other bodies. Meanwhile, the head of a UN investigative body has written to Syria's new authorities to engage with them and to travel to Syria to secure evidence that could implicate top officials of the former government. The UN body was set up in 2016 to probe and help prosecute the most serious crimes committed in Syria since 2011. It has already collected 283 terabytes of data and is cooperating with national prosecutors, including teams in Belgium, France and the United States on Syria investigations. The United Nations pushed for Iran nuclear deal talks, saying time is of the essence. The aim is to urgently work to restore a 2015 deal that lifted sanctions on Tehran in return for restrictions on its nuclear program, warning that its success or failure matters to all of us.
Time is of the essence. While the onus is on JCPOA participants and the U.S., their success or failure matters to all of us. The region cannot afford further instability. There must be genuine commitment to dialogue and diplomacy.
In a major escalation, the head of the Russian Army's Chemical Weapons Division was killed on Tuesday in a brazen Moscow attack claimed by Kyiv. According to the Russian officials, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, who was chief of Russia's nuclear, biological and chemical production troops, was killed along with an assistant when an explosive device attached to a scooter went off outside an apartment building in southeastern Moscow. A source in Ukraine's SBU security service said that it was behind the explosion in what it called a special operation. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman accused Ukraine's allies of approving war crimes by remaining silent on the killing or expressing support for such attacks. The attack took place a day after President Putin boasted of Russian troops' successes in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, said that the Ukrainian leadership would face imminent revenge for killing of the top Russian general.
Everyone understands what happened and what needs to be done. Despite the fact that the investigation has just begun, our enemies have already rushed to publish information about their involvement. In any case, the investigators must find the killers in Russia, and we must do everything to destroy the patrons who are in Kiev. These patrons are also known. This is the military political leadership of Ukraine. In any case, this is a very sad incident.
The United States strongly denied having any role in the assassination of a senior Russian general and his aide in Moscow on Tuesday. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said that the United States was not aware of it in advance and was not involved.
I don't have an assessment. It's not something that we were involved in. Obviously, he was a general who was involved in a number of atrocities. He was involved in the use of chemical weapons against Ukrainian military.
Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer visited British NATO troops as part of his schedule at the Joint Expeditionary Force Summit in Estonia on Tuesday. Prime Minister Starmer met with the soldiers aboard the HMS Iron Duke in Tallinn after holding bilateral talks with Finland's President Alexander Stubb, Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen and Sweden's Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson. The Joint Expeditionary Force is a UK-led partnership involving the NATO states of the Netherlands, Nordic and Baltic regions. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Wisconsin police search for answers after shooting at a school sent shockwaves across U.S. Vanuatu hit by second earthquake, even as rescuers search for people still trapped after the first 7.4 magnitude earthquake. Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. A large number of mysterious drones have been reported flying over New Jersey and across the northeastern U.S., sparking speculation and concern over where they came from and why. The FBI, Homeland Security, State Police and other agencies are investigating it. Reacting to sighting, Pentagon Press Secretary said that military installations could receive enhanced capabilities to detect, identify and track the drones. He added that many of the reported drone sightings appear to be of commercial, hobby and law enforcement drones as well as aircraft or stars. Police in Wisconsin continue to interview friends and family and examining the online presence of a 15-year-old girl to determine what drove her to open fire at her private Christian school. Madison Police Chief said identifying a motive is their top priority, but at this time it appears that the motive was a combination of factors. He did not provide more details, saying he did not want to jeopardize the investigation. Investigators are examining the girl's cell phone, computer and online posts, as well as looking into verifying a possible manifesto that the shooter may have left behind. On Monday, the suspect killed a student and a teacher before taking her own life. School shootings have become a near daily occurrence in the United States, with 322 incidents reported this year. Meanwhile, hundreds of community members held a candlelight vigil in Madison for the victims of Wisconsin shooting. Mourners promised that the community would heal together and get through the tough time, even as answers in the investigation remain scarce.
Somebody that
who has been in therapy. Community experienced a terrible and traumatic event, and we will never be the same. But we will get through this, and we will get through this together by relying on each other and by taking care of each other.
Well, as a community member, we have 11 tribes here in Wisconsin. So it's very important for our Native American community to know that we stand here with the community.
Canadian Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's problems are not going to die down while he is facing tremendous pressure from US President-elect Donald Trump to tighten the border. And from inside the party, after his Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland resigned, now opposition is asking for his resignation from the post. Tuesday was again a bad day for Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, as Parliament was abuzz with accusations from the opposition members with a renewed vigour. The Canadian opposition of all shades pinned down on him for his government's failure on all fronts and asked for his resignation. While Trudeau is working hard to save his government, the opposition's demand is giving fillip to detractors in his own party.
Minister has lost the confidence of Canadians, lost the confidence of many of his MPs, and yesterday he lost the confidence of his finance minister. And no wonder, because after 9 years, this prime minister has broken everything. He's broken our borders, broken immigration, broken housing, and broken the budget. So, when will the prime minister just stop? Stop breaking things, acknowledge that he doesn't have a mandate to continue to govern, and call a carbon tax election.
mess. Yesterday was a gong show at the bottom of a dumpster fire, wrapped up in a cluster. The finance minister resigns, the prime minister hides all day and then has to beg his MPs not to fire him. But the worst news, buried underneath it all, was a devastating gut punch to Canadian taxpayers. A $62 billion deficit smashing through the already insane $40 billion guardrail. Canada is a serious G7 NATO partner staring down the threat of 25% tariffs. We deserve a strong leader with a new mandate. Why not let Canadians decide by calling a carbon tax election?
India and China will hold special representatives dialogue on the boundary question in Beijing on Wednesday. India's National Security Advisor and Special Representative on the India-China boundary question, Ajit Doval, will hold the 23rd meeting of the Special Representatives with his Chinese counterpart and Minister of Foreign Affairs of China, Wang Yi. The two special representatives will discuss the management of peace and tranquility in the border areas and explore a fair, reasonable and mutually acceptable solution to the boundary question. The last round of special representative dialogue was held in New Delhi in December 2019. All right, DD India's Jessica Taneja joins us. Jessica, now we see this dialogue happening in Beijing after the dialogue was held in Delhi in 2019. A lot has changed in between. Get us more as to how do we expect the talks between the two sides to take place?
Well, before the breakthrough, while I was at Kazan in October this year, and the bilateral meeting between the Chinese President Xi Jinping and our Prime Minister Narendra Modi took place there, and things quickly moved forward. Now, the special representative talks that were halted and were last done, as you said, as you rightly pointed out, in December 2019, will now resume from today. Certainly shows an effort to start rebuilding trust between the two nations. We've seen what's happened in the last 5 years or so, ever since the 2020 standoff in Galwan. There have been things that have completely changed in terms of the dynamics of the relationship, the boundary question that has been put forth. Now, on the 21st of October as well, an agreement was seen to the effect where the patrolling in the grazing areas, particularly those 5 friction points, out of which we're still expecting a lot of breakthrough that did come in those friction points, and patrolling would continue and go back to the status quo as it were in 2020. With the special representative talks, though, this is more about building trust. And, we've already had confidence building measures, etc. in the past. But this high level meeting certainly would go on to highlight that India and China want to sit on the table and discuss issues. But of course, let's not eliminate the trust deficit that exists between the two. It's too soon to say a lot, but this meeting would certainly bear fruit in the future.
All right, so we'll have to see how the talks pan out. But then, Jessica, for the benefit of our viewers, help us understand this dialogue was established in 2003, and since it was last held in Delhi in 2019, how far has it led to, strengthening of the ties between the two countries? How has this dialogue, evolved over the years when we talk of the issues between the two sides? To what extent has this dialogue helped in mitigating the issues?
For the 3,500 kilometer that India shares with China, that line of actual control, we've seen that there have been discussions to resolve any kind of issues, and especially contentious issues, in the last many, many years. And with the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval now meeting his counterpart Wang Yi, who also acts as who doubles up as the foreign minister of the country as well, would certainly indicate to the effect that these talks have led to certain understanding, to getting to know what the other side, is sort of demanding at this point, and making sure that both the nations, which have had this working model for many, many years now, would continue to strengthen their relationship than derail it more. So that is the kind of effort these special representative talks have had on the two. when it comes to stabilizing the relationship, especially when we talk about the border issue. After 62, we've had various forms of agreements, and there have been various mechanisms. These are high-level talks where both the counterparts certainly get down to discuss more contentious issues and things that could have had a moment of friction for longer than a time where it could not have been resolved at a level where it was, and hence the special representative talks to iron out details, to firm up details. So this dialogue has remained very important for both India and China diplomacy and the relationship moving forward. Now, it does gain a lot of significance today because, yes, there were frictions between the two when it comes to the border areas, but nothing like what we saw in 2017. In fact, the start was 2013, and then we saw its incidents in both 2017 and then in 2017 Doklam, and then 2020 in the Galwan Valley. So these special representative talks do serve a great purpose in terms of bringing some kind of understanding, a kind of balance of relationship between the two, if not achieving complete, a resolution of the issues that both nations have seen in the recent past. But then these are high-level meetings, and not much is said about it. But when it comes to seeing the kind of solutions that we can expect, the ironing out of issues that we've seen in the past, the special representative talks, I think, are much more significant than common parlance.
All right, Jessica, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. In Mayotte, authorities struggle to stop hunger, disease and lawlessness from spreading in the French overseas territory after the weekend's devastating cyclone. French officials said that thousands could be dead in Mayotte, which took the strongest hit from Cyclone Trudeau. The storm laid waste to large parts of Indian Ocean archipelago before striking the African mainland. France's new Prime Minister, Francois Bayrou, told lawmakers that the full death toll on Mayotte was not known, but so far more than 20 people had been killed and hundreds injured, according to authorities. Essential goods, medical and technical staff and police arrived via an air bridge, with many parts of Mayotte still inaccessible and some victims buried before their deaths could be officially counted. It may take days to discover the full extent of the destruction. Rescuers in Vanuatu on Wednesday searched for people still trapped after the 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck the Pacific nation's capital, Port Vila, on Tuesday, killing 14 people. A Red Cross official said on X, citing the Vanuatu government, that at least 200 people are being treated for injuries at the capital's main hospital and other medical centers, with 14 confirmed deaths. Meanwhile, an earthquake of magnitude 6.1 has struck the Vanuatu Islands on Wednesday, the second quake to hit the tiny Pacific nation in 24 hours, the GFZ German Research Center for Geosciences said. Caretaker Prime Minister Charlotte Salwan said that the National Disaster Committee has declared a state of emergency and imposed a curfew for 7 days in the worst affected areas. International assistance has been sought. Kenya suffered a widespread power outage on Wednesday that affected most of the country. The cause of the outage in East Africa's largest economy is the latest in a series of recurring power outages in the country that have been faced over the past year. The blackout has significantly reduced internet connectivity across the country, besides affecting neighboring Tanzania. Nation's leading power utility, Kenya Power, said the cause of the outage is being determined. Kenya Power supplies power to more than 9.6 million customers in Kenya. Argentine President Javier Milei has demanded the immediate release of Naval Gallo, an Argentine gendarme detained in Venezuela during a speech at the National Military College. Gallo was arrested on December 8th while attempting to visit a family in Venezuela after crossing the Colombian border. Milei accused Venezuelan security forces of unlawfully detaining Gallo, and he vowed to pursue all diplomatic channels to ensure the gendarme's safe return to Argentina. Argentina's presidential spokesperson has advised Argentine citizens to refrain from traveling to Venezuela following the arrest of Argentine security official by Nicolas Maduro government. Argentine Foreign Minister labeled Gallo's detention as an illegal kidnapping. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. On a farm in the southern U.S. state of Virginia, David Ayres and his research teams are breeding genetically modified pigs to transplant their organs into human patients. Revivicor, the biotech company Ayres leads, is at the forefront of xenotransplantation research. Now, this is the implantation of animal organs into humans, which aims to solve a chronic organ shortage. The pigs are genetically modified to make their organs less likely to be rejected by patients' immune systems. A driver in California escaped with minor injuries after his car crashed through the glass wall of a fitness center and plunged into a swimming pool. The video released by the Redlands Fire Department showed the car fully submerged in the pool, which was unoccupied at the time. The fire department said that the driver was treated for minor injuries. Santa Claus swapped his traditional sleigh for a jet ski to deliver presents for children in Rio de Janeiro on Tuesday. NGO Heroes of Life, which supports patients suffering from cerebral palsy, microcephaly and autism and other syndromes, joined forces with the fire brigade to hand out gifts to children and their parents. In Bulgaria, a social enterprise in Plovdiv employs 27 people with physical or mental disabilities, creating hand-blown glass Christmas ornaments without molds in preparation for the festive season. The workshop, which also includes ceramics and sewing facilities, is one of the few in Europe still using the traditional method. The craftsman of the workshop said the number of artisans is dwindling as the popularity of plastic ornaments is increasing. You're watching DD India News Hour. Up next, a short break. But after the break, people in Assam have to regularly deal with the challenges of flood and erosion. We get you a special report from a distant village enumerating the concerns of the villagers. The 5-day-long festive extravaganza Bhaktapur Mahotsav concludes, giving the revelers an experience to cherish forever. Delhiites wake up to a chilly, foggy morning as Met Department issues a yellow alert for moderate to dense fog in the national capital.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. The India-Nepal Startup Summit 2024 commenced in Kathmandu on Tuesday, bringing together entrepreneurs, investors and policymakers to foster collaboration and innovation between the two nations. This summit aims to create a platform for startups to network, pitch their ideas and explore opportunities for growth and investment. The summit was organized with the aim of bridging the gap between local startups and international investors, attracting significant investment into Nepal's burgeoning startup scene. Niti Aayog, in collaboration with University of California, Berkeley and Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research, held a 2-day-long international workshop on India's multiple transitions, financing a big investment push that culminated in Mumbai on Tuesday. Suman K. Berry, Vice Chairman, Niti Aayog, in his inaugural remarks talked about India's dependence on forest resources and how this can be positively tapped while reducing carbon.
India, in its nationally determined contributions, has talked about protecting a carbon sink, a lot of which is represented by its forests. While it's still early days, it may in time become possible for the heavily forested states seek to monetize the value of their forest resources. Where we are today and linking it up with climate change, there are fresh ideas and opportunities that might well attract foreign investment, not just domestic investment, to valuing our forests, what's called avoidance of climate change, and then also, if you like, removal of carbon by adding to forest plantations.
The international workshop also saw participation of Dr. Donald Hanna, acclaimed academician from University of California, Berkeley.
Generating the investment needs to meet that target of sustainable growth in 2047 is clearly the challenge, which has a number of components to that in order to do that successfully. One of which is, so that you can think about growth in terms of a combination of the resources that you dedicate to generating that growth and the technology and efficiency with which you use those resources. So in that umbrella then of generating the higher sustainable growth, one of the challenges that arises is the input that comes from labor, from people. And so that raises two very big challenges for India, one of which is to improve the health conditions, and the other is to improve the educational conditions.
And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. Border Security Force has launched vocational training program in Rajouri district of Jammu and Kashmir to empower the local youth. The aim is to empower and help provide economic support to the families. Residents woke up to chilly winds and a foggy morning on Wednesday. Met Department has issued a yellow alert warning of moderate to dense fog in the morning with shallow fog or smog likely in the evening and night. The day is expected to remain partly cloudy. Meanwhile, the Graded Response Action Plan or GRAP-4 measures are in effect across the Delhi NCR region since December 16 to combat air pollution. Parts of Tamil Nadu continue to witness waterlogging due to continuous rainfall due to low pressure system in the Bay of Bengal. Met Department has issued a weather warning for Chennai and nearby areas where very heavy rainfall is expected on Wednesday and Thursday, with rain continuing in parts of Chennai until December 20th. The government has referred One Nation, One Election bills to the Joint Parliamentary Committee for wider consultations. Union Home Minister Amit Shah told Lok Sabha that Prime Minister Narendra Modi suggested that the bill be sent to the committee as there should be a detailed discussion over it at every level. DD India's Anil Thomas has the details.
The much anticipated legislative bills aim for One Nation, One Election, the Constitution 129th Amendment Bill 2024 and the Union Territories Laws Amendment Bill 2024 have been introduced in the lower house of India's parliament, the Lok Sabha. The bill aims to amend the constitution and enable government's plan for holding simultaneous polls for Lok Sabha and state assemblies in a phased manner. After division voting took place in the lower house, 269 MPs voted in favour and 199 against the motion of introducing the bill in the house. India's Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal tabled these bills.
With your permission, I wish to move for leave to introduce the Union Territories Laws Amendment Bill 2024, further to amend the Government of Union Territories Act 1963, the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Act 1991, and the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019. ये मैं आपकी अनुमति से आपसे लीव मांग रहा हूं.
Meanwhile, Manish Tiwari of the Congress, while initiating the discussion on the One Nation, One Election bill, urged the government to withdraw them, saying that the introduction, consideration of such bills is beyond legislative competence of this House.
The bills which have been moved by the Honourable Minister of Law and Justice, they need to be opposed ab initio, and the introduction of those bills have to be stopped.
Many regional parties like the DMK, Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray and NCP Sharad Pawar recommended the bill be sent to the JPC.
The government can take up the matter with JPC so that it can be discussed there and bring back the bill to the House.
Request the Honourable the Government of India Okay.
Either to withdraw the bill or send it to a joint parliamentary committee so we have a detailed discussion.
India's Home Minister Amit Shah said that Prime Minister Modi has shown interest in the bill to be moved to the Joint Parliamentary Committee, and based on the JPC report, the bill will be discussed again in the House. The report is submitted.
जब ये संविधान सुधार का विधेयक संवैधानिक संशोधन जब कैबिनेट में चर्चा में आया, तब प्रधानमंत्री जी ने स्वयं मंशा व्यक्त करी थी कि इसको जेपीसी को देना चाहिए। इस पर विस्तृत चर्चा सभी स्तर पर होनी चाहिए।
Meanwhile, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla assured the members that JPC will enable members to widely discuss and debate the bills in their entirety, and when the bill comes to the House as well, members will be given more time to debate the bill.
जेपीसी के समय व्यापक चर्चा होगी और सब दल के सदस्य होंगे, उसमें डिटेल चर्चा होगी और उसके बाद जब बिल आएगा उस समय आपको व्यापक चर्चा, आप जितने समय चाहोगे उतना घंटे आपको व्यापक चर्चा दी जाएगी।
The One Nation, One Election bill is finally introduced in the lower house. It leaves both the opposition as well as the government in a happy mood. The opposition has got assurance that this bill is likely to go to the JPC. For the government, it's been an effort to get this bill introduced, and they have successfully managed to do it in the first attempt. With camera person SP Dubey, Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
All right, Anil Thomas joins us for more from Delhi. Anil, good morning. Get us more, how do we expect the day to pan out in both the Houses of Parliament? What legislative business is to be taken up?
Well, good morning, Preeti. Well, very much on the expected lines today. We've got 3 bills lined up in the Lok Sabha, 2 in the Rajya Sabha. Bill that's been passed, especially the Union Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri's bill when it comes to the oil fields amendment bill that has been passed in the Rajya Sabha, that's going to come in the Lok Sabha. Important legislations that are up for discussions and deliberations. Remember, we just got 3 days of Parliament left, so it's going to be crucial that the government is able to, at least have deliberations, discussions on these bills. The opposition has time and again been raising the issue of, being not given enough time to discuss the bills. So, there is shortage, there is paucity of time, but I think the government and the opposition both will have to work in, together, especially when, some of these bills have to be passed quickly with just, less than, I would say, roughly around 3 days of business transactions left.
All right, Anil, also the One Nation, One Election bill now has been referred to the Joint Parliamentary Committee. For the benefit of our viewers, get us more explanation as to what next for the bill. What is the procedure?
Well, why all the political parties were very keen on a Joint Parliamentary Committee was for the simple reason that the bill had voices for and against, which almost looked, to be making one. There was a bit of cacophony of sounds, especially when it comes to the bill for and against. So there's a division of vote that was done in the first place. A division of vote clearly gives the Speaker a clear picture on whether the bill can be introduced in the House. So now the bill is introduced in the House, and at least 3 regional forces, DMK, the Shiv Sena, that's the Uddhav Thackeray faction, the NCP, the Sharad Pawar faction, a leader stood up and suggested that, the bill going to the JPC makes more sense because then every political party would have a representation in the JPC, and that would give better insights, better understanding into the merits and demerits of this particular bill that the government is trying to introduce. Remember, doing the elections in 2024 cost roughly around 37,000 crore rupees. And 37,000 crore rupees, when you look purely in terms of mathematics on the pressure that the GDP or on the entire budget that is prepared by the Union Finance Minister, is roughly around 0.2%. So, one needs to understand the mathematics behind this particular move. And once this matter has been referred to the JPC, what happens is, since BJP is the largest party in Lok Sabha, BJP will have the maximum members in this Joint Parliamentary Committee. But every political party of significance will be having their representative, and they would be deliberating on this bill. The bill would be deliberated, discussed, and then a final comprehensive report, a comprehensive bill that would be presented in the Parliament again, which would again be considered, deliberated. And as the Speaker assured, every political party and every political representative will be given ample lot of time
to discuss the bill again. So this is a long drawn, journey that the bill has now got into, going to the JPC. We'll have to wait and watch how the JPC and what does the JPC bring to the table when the bill is once again raised for consideration.
All right, Anil, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. You're watching DD India News Hour. That was our correspondent Anil Thomas telling us what is to be expected in Parliament today. Up next, we're heading for a short break. But after the break, symbolic of India's growing stature in indigenous shipbuilding, Indian naval ship Nirdeshak to be commissioned today at the Naval Dockyard in Visakhapatnam. Ecuador completes $1.5 billion debt swap for Amazon conservation. Performers from Australia's circus troupe enthrall passers-by in London. How? We tell you ahead.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy. Always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. Assam, with its vast network of rivers, is prone to natural disasters like flood and erosion. The flood-prone area of the country as a whole stands at about 10.2% of the total area, but flood-prone area of Assam is 39.58% of the state's total area. This year, an embankment in Hatibonda area was breached in Tengakhat, a small town in Dibrugarh, leading to massive bank erosion. A detailed report ahead by our correspondent Subina Roy from the remote village of Dihing Kinar Nepali Gaon, where the villagers talk about their concerns.
Buridihing is one of the largest tributaries of Brahmaputra, which is about 380 kilometers. It originates in the Patkai Hills in eastern Himalayas and flows through Upper Assam. Tengaghat is one of the small towns in Dibrugarh district through which flows Buridihing. The Buridihing meanders across the valleys of Tengaghat and nourishes its soil, which yields good paddy cultivation as well as various types of crops. Vegetables produced in the villages of Tengaghat find good markets in places like Dibrugarh, Duliajan and Tinsukia. However, now due to the onslaught of erosion, villagers are losing their fertile land at a rapid pace, which has now become a major concern for them. Facing such dire consequences resulting from river erosion, the villagers have formed a local committee called Tengaghat Hatibonda Flood and Erosion Resistance and Embankment Protection Committee and are taking up some anti-erosion measures by themselves.
Some of the measures have been taken by the Water Resources Department. They are in the pipeline and some projects have been prepared with assistance from like World Bank. And also there is a major proposal to create several embankments across the Buridihing River right from Margherita till Khuang area through funding from Asian Development Bank. These are some of the mega projects which are in the pipeline. But the villagers here of the concern that they have only just 2 months time now, that we are in mid-December now. Only January and February is left. From March onwards it starts raining here. So they want these measures to be implemented in a time-bound manner and at the earliest.
Accordingly, villagers have started putting up bamboo porcupines in a bid to arrest the problem of erosion. According to the villagers, their efforts are showing some encouraging results. Senior citizens and villagers are now urging the government to expedite the process of implementation of anti-erosion schemes so that the villagers in the area get permanent protection from the problem of massive erosion before the rainy season finally begins.
So as you can see that 40% of the area of Assam is a flood prone area, and the villages out here near the Buridihing river in Tengaghat area, they want that this is the dry season and it's just 2 months, the flood season is just 2 months away. So before the flood season arrives, the villagers want that proper actions be taken, anti-erosion measures, so that the village, this agrarian, this fertile village can be saved. We dedicate Dibrugarh team, Subina Roy, DT India.
In Nepal, the 5-day-long Bhaktapur Mahotsav concluded on Tuesday, introducing the outside world to city's unique and historic art, culture, festival and way of life. Bhaktapur is a district in Kathmandu Valley that has UNESCO heritage sites as Bhaktapur Darbar Square and Changu Narayan Temple in its perimeter. Here's more from our special correspondent in Nepal.
In the crowded Bhaktapur festival, foreign tourists were seen flocking at local delicacies stall, feasting on Vyomari, Jujudau, Bada and traditional Newari Khaja. Newari women were seen weaving Haku Patasi on looms, which is traditional Neva sari consisting black woolen or cotton sari with striking red border. In the Bhaktapur Darbar Square, Paubha painting exhibition and exhibition of traditional sculptures in bronze, stone and wood was on display. Tourists dotted around the podium of cultural dance performances where artists performed Varahi dance and Lakhi dance. Music bands from different schools as well as local community groups marched on different streets and lanes, playing flutes and traditional instruments. Handicraft items made by local people were on exhibition cum sale. Pottery Square had exhibition of traditional earthenwares used by community in Bhaktapur. There were corners for plant lovers with variety of ornamental, flowering and fruiting plants on sale. Shweta Singh for DD India, Bhaktapur.
Indian naval ship Nirdeshak, a voyage of innovation and self-reliance, will be commissioned today at the Naval Dockyard in Visakhapatnam. The second survey vessel Large is part of a 4-ship project and a testament to India's growing stature in indigenous shipbuilding. INS Nirdeshak represents a synthesis of engineering precision and operational versatility. The 3,400-ton vessel, spanning 110 meters with a beam of 16 meters, has been purpose-built for hydrographic surveys. Powered by 2 diesel engines, the ship can achieve speeds exceeding 18 knots, enabling efficient survey operations across India's vast coastline and deep-sea territories. Built with 80% indigenous content, it underscores India's ambition for technological self-sufficiency. And now we get to what all is happening in the world of business and economy around the world. Lee Mangione, the man accused of shooting dead United Health Group executive Brian Thompson on a Manhattan street this month, was indicted for murder on Tuesday. He was indicted on 11 counts, including first-degree murder and murder as a crime of terrorism. The indictment accused Mangione of murdering Thompson with the intent to influence the policy of a unity of government by intimidation. He was charged with murder on December 9th for the killing of Thompson outside a Manhattan hotel before a company conference following a 5-day manhunt. He is currently being held on gun charges in Pennsylvania, where he was arrested last week. Bragg said he had indications that Mangione may waive his right to contest his extradition to New York. A hearing over Mangione's extradition is scheduled for Thursday in Pennsylvania. Ecuador has completed its second debt for nature swap, this time unlocking $460 million to protect and manage the forests and wetlands of its Amazon rainforest. Debt for nature swaps aim long-term funding for conservation projects by using savings from debt relief to finance environmental projects instead of spending on debt servicing. This deal is expected to generate $23.5 million per year over 17 years, with $19 million annually going directly to the Amazon Biocorridor program and $4.5 million invested via an endowment fund to generate returns. The debt for nature swap reduces Ecuador's debt by $527 million and provides $800 million in net fiscal savings by 2035 through changes in repayment costs and debt repurchase. Ecuador opened its offer to investors to buy back existing bonds on December 3rd. And now we get to updates from the world of sports. India were dismissed for 260 runs early in the first session on the final day of the third test against Australia in Brisbane on Wednesday. India finished 185 runs behind the host's first innings total of 445 runs, but passed the follow-on total late on Tuesday to ensure Australia must bat again. KL Rahul top scored with a stylish 84, while Ravindra Jadeja made 77. Australian captain Pat Cummins was the pick of the bowlers, taking 4 wickets for 81 runs. Play has resumed after bad weather out most of the final session. Australia's lead has stretched to beyond 200 runs, but they have lost quick wickets. In India, chess has been on an upward trajectory since D. Gukesh defeated China's Ding Liren in Singapore at the World Chess Championship 2024 last week. Gukesh became the youngest world champion, breaking the long-standing record of Russian great Garry Kasparov. The newly crowned world champion, Gukesh, held a celebratory roadshow in Chennai on Tuesday. Excited fans gathered on the streets to cheer for the young chess prodigy. Chief Minister of India's southern state of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin, facilitated world chess champion D. Gukesh on Tuesday. The felicitation ceremony was also attended by chess legend Vishwanathan Anand. While addressing the gathering, Gukesh said that becoming the world champion has always been his dream.
For me to be standing here and as the 18th and the youngest world chess champion in history it has been my dream, and I feel extreme gratitude to everyone. You know, Chennai has proudly earned the title of the capital of Indian chess, and I think it's also very safe to say that Chennai, in many terms, is also one of the best cities in the world of chess.
All right, and now we quickly take you to London, where performers from Australia's circus troupe gave passers-by a taste of their upcoming Duck Pond show. The mesmerizing fusion of grace and acrobatics was a joyous reimagining of Swan Lake and the ugly duckling in circus. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audience. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. With that reminder, we end this edition of DD India News Hour. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.